Hi everyone, it's Michael, and it's time for the June 2022 Orchid Collection update. We have so much to get through this month, but before I jump in, I do want to start with a quick celebration because today is the 5-year anniversary of my Orchid Collection update videos. I can hardly believe it, but in June of 2017, I posted my very first Orchid Collection update video. So that means that I have given 60 Orchid Collection monthly update videos. That means that I have a 5-year video journal snapshot of all of my orchid growing experimentation, ranging from, semi-hydroponics, to water culture, to classic medium, to chemical treatments, to fertilizer treatments. It is so bizarre and something that I'm so proud of that I have been able to craft this body of work, and it happened quite accidentally just because I encountered an incredible audience that was eager and willing to follow me on this journey and had a lot of questions along the way. So first and foremost, I just want to celebrate that it's been 5 years, and I want to say thank you so much for being here. Now with that comes a bit of an announcement, which is this will be the last monthly Orchid Collection update for the foreseeable future. Now, if you've been with this channel for a while, you know that I've been struggling to produce content given my demanding schedule outside of this channel. And I do want to afford a little bit more insight into why that is. I never really talk about it, but the job that I have outside of my channel is I am the Global Director of Education for Fenty Beauty. Now, if you're not familiar, that is the beauty brand of international icon, mogul, Rihanna. And I am so proud to do the work that I do. I'm so proud to do it for the people that I do it with. And it's something that really fills my cup in the most remarkable way. And I do need to be fully present and accountable for my role because it's busy, it's tough, and I love what I do. I have been trying my absolute best to manage competing objectives for quite some time now, and I just feel myself burning out. And the challenge is it's evolving the discourse with my plants because now when I want to do something to them, or if they're in a place of need, sometimes I drag my heels because I feel like I should film it, but then I never end up doing it because I don't have the time to film it. So it's compromising my ability to care for the plants in some ways, and it's also creating just a bit of anxiety for me. Even so, this is certainly not the last video I'm going to create, but I do think that removing it from, a repeatable, consistently scheduled cadence will free me up a little bit to create content as I feel inspired as opposed to on a specified timeline that is sometimes not feasible. So thank you so much for your patience as I flapped my gums. Now let's talk a bit about the plants. There is so much happening and there are so many beautiful things in bloom right now. And surprise, I've changed my grow system once again, and that's only for some of my plants, namely my bulbophyllums. But I'm excited to walk you through all of that. Now, in regard to care, it's the exact same as it was last month. I am flushing the orchid containers once to twice a month. In between those flushes, I am watering with a dilute nutrient solution composed of Dynagrow and CalMag. I am sustaining a strong source of moving air with the overhead fan. I am sustaining high humidity with my indoor humidifier, and I am misting the plants every morning. Now, having said all of that, let's jump in and take a look at the plants that have something new, different, and interesting happening this month. All right, my friends, jumping in with number 9 in the collection. This is the keiki that I took from my mom's plant, and I just feel super connected to this plant because the mother plant actually died when my mom moved, so this is the last standing survivor of this specific type. But it's so interesting because this plant it hasn't suffered, but it hasn't really excelled over the period of time that I've had it. So I finally got it repotted into classic grow medium very recently, and it seems to be doing great. It threw out a flower spike quite quickly, so I'm just waiting for the other bud to open. Of course, this still is very much a juvenile plant, but I'm so excited to see it in bloom again. Just so pretty. Now on to number 11 in the collection. This is of course my Psychopsis Mendenhall Hildos, and just get a load of this stunning beauty. 4 sequential flower spikes on this plant, absolutely gorgeous. And this one has just been such an ongoing source of joy, such a consistent bloomer. I did also get this one converted to classic grow medium. It has adapted quite readily and thrown out a lot more new growth. But it did somewhat halt the pre-existing flower spikes, so they slowed completely. They stopped blooming altogether, and they just started reblooming. So I'm looking forward to the day that I see all 4 spikes in bloom, and there's potentially even another spike on the way, so we will just have to stay tuned. Now this part is not the happiest story. This is of course number 16 in the collection, my Catasetum Daprodots Nicolasa Tavares. This was once a plant that I called Big Bertha because it was so huge and so vigorous. And I'm not quite sure what happened this year, but when I repotted it, the new growth just completely rotted away. Of course, that indicates that maybe I resumed watering too early, but the root system was quite long. It's the exact same approach I've used for the previous years that was very successful. So I'm not quite sure what the paradigm shift was, but what I had to do is unpot it, and you can see it produced these keikis on the sides that really had robust root systems. So I just got those repotted as the primary growth, and I am just misting them until they are able to really sustain themselves with more meaningful root growth. I just don't know how it's going to go. I've never seen this plant go this way, and it is pretty unsettling, especially because I have such a long rapport with this plant. Now, as a point of reference, and we'll dive into it later, this is what's going on with number 36 in the collection, which is another catasetum type. So they were given the exact same care, and I used the exact same indicators to inform when I was resuming watering. So it's just kind of strange to see this plant struggling so much. I'm hoping that it'll recover, but only time will tell. Now moving on to number 19 in the collection. This is my Bulbophyllum fascinator on the left. Number 20 in the collection, this is my Bulbophyllum ambrosia. And here in the middle, it's a bit out of order. This is number 63, my Restrepia cuprea. But these are all mounted on something called cool logs. And I will link the store below. Such a fascinating concept, but these are ceramic logs that it's just like mounting to a piece of wood. So these are mounted with fishing line. And I put a base layer of sphagnum moss, then I put more sphagnum moss on top of the root system. And the interesting thing is you fill it like a little water reservoir. I don't know if you can see. You actually put water directly into the logs themselves. It absorbs into the ceramics and then kind of diffuses water slowly into the sphagnum moss. So this has given them elevated humidity. It's given them elevated moisture. And let me tell you, they really seem to love it. And I can show you, if you look at the base of this Bulbophyllum fascinator, it has its first new growth in a very long time. Now, you may recall, these have gone through so many different potting iterations. These have been in water culture. They have been in semi-hydro. And actually, number 20, this is a division from the mother plant over here, which is still in water culture. So these plants have seen a lot of experimentation, but this seems very, very promising. It's a manageable way for me as the grower. It's something that's sustainable that I can consistently do because all I have to do is take a little water, drop it into the reservoir, and they seem to do just fine. So this is almost like a mounting version of semi-hydro because there is a water reservoir, which seems to work for me. So I'm hoping that we see that the plants respond very positively to this. This is definitely one of the plants that I'm going to continue to give updates on because I'm just so curious to see how this grow methodology impacts their development. Now on to number 25 in the collection. This is my Epidendrum green hornet, more aptly named a Pristicchia green hornet. And it is another sequential bloomer. This has given me so much love and so much life over the years. It just has the most darling little jellyfish blooms. I don't know if you can see. But this one has been on the mend ever since getting repotted into classic grow medium. It definitely wants more water than I've been giving it, so this is going to require a healthy mix of sphagnum moss into the potting medium when it's time to repot. But I will say things are going quite well. That sequential bloom has been in bloom for quite some time now. And also there appears to be another one on the way. This flower sheath just poked through the new growth, so I think we have a lot to look forward to from that one. Now on to number 36 in the collection. This is my Fred Clark Yara SVO Black Pearl. And let me just take a step back so you can see just how large this plant is. It is absolutely insane. Yet another catasetum type, but it has just done so much better than my other plants. And look how big the leaves are relative to my hand. It is a gigantic plant. This one has been so vigorous. It has responded so positively to the way that I resumed watering, to the slow release fertilizer that's being used in the container. Every step of this care that it's receiving, it loves. So I'm a bit confused about how exactly things made such a radical departure for number 16 when they are getting the exact same care and have been for years. They always go into new growth mode at the exact same time. These plants are very much synced up. So this, I don't know if you would call it an interruption or disruption of the standard cadence is quite unexpected. So again, I just want to celebrate that this one is doing so well. I can't wait to see it in bloom. The beautiful, vivid, deep black blooms. But I'm just excited that this one has had such a successful grow season. Now this guy is one of three. It is number 51, my White Wedding Day Phalaenopsis. And as you can see, it is in spike yet again. These plants bloom so vigorously and so consistently. But what I really want to highlight here is that since being converted to classic grow medium, the root system has really desiccated and the leaves have become super, super dehydrated. And I don't know why it surprised me so much. I just expected them to respond immediately positively to the new grow method. But like any other cultivation style, the plants really have to acclimate and adapt. And you can see it's putting down this brand new root right here. It has another new root coming in on the other side, but it is not perfectly equipped to deal with this grow setup just yet. I think these are going to do phenomenally well, and I am actually contemplating clipping off the flower spike to ensure that it has adequate energy to invest in its new root growth. But I do have 3 of these plants. They have made it through worse. So it's just kind of interesting to see how, even when they are getting a more ideal potting setup, if you've messed with your plants for too long, you won't be able to tell that you've given them a better grow setup for quite some time, because they really have to pivot and adapt to that new setup. So just kind of an interesting case study here, but very, very happy that these continue to be so vigorous. On to number 59 in the collection. This is my Cloesia Rebecca Northern Maccabi, and you can see it has that new growth on the way. Now this one always seems to introduce new growth after number 16 and number 36. So it's not quite on the exact same cadence as the other plants, but this one is also having a bit of a challenging grow season. If I take you into the container, you can see it had tons and tons of roots that were, in theory, long enough to metabolize water. And then as I started to water, they just died off immediately. So I was kind of expecting this growth to die off altogether, but I just halted watering it. And what I did instead is start to mist the moss, just the very, very top portion of it, in the mornings. And it seemed to stop the dieback of roots. I just don't know what's going to happen from here. So again, a very curious grow season for this one, but I'm just going to keep my eye on it and hope for the best. On to number 60, one of my more reliable bloomers. This is, of course, my Bellara Peggy Ruth Carpenter. Just so stunning. It did only give me 1 bloom on this growth because it was dehydrated. You know, this is another plant that requires elevated moisture levels, and classic bark medium really, it really invited and coaxed out a lot of new root growth. But those roots want water, and I'm just not giving it to them. So this is one that's going to need to be mixed in with some sphagnum moss when it's repotted. But for the time being, I am just keeping an eye on it. But I do want you to note the impact of it not getting enough water. You can see the new pseudobulb, the leaves are a bit Angelina Jolie and Girl Interrupted. They're a little bit zigzaggy, they're a little bit crazy. And that's, you know, it's totally to be expected. You can see it had another more robust display here that dried up recently. But this one is doing well, but can be doing better with some slight modifications, and I'm excited to make them. And with that, that's pretty much it. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of this update, this is far from the last video you will receive from me. I am so looking forward to creating more orchid care videos, more bloom profiles, more repot videos. So keep your eyes locked on the channel. More is coming, and it's just going to shift gears and take a different form. So thank you, as always, for choosing to spend a little time with me. If you have any questions, concerns, or feedback, go ahead and leave it in the comment section below. Be sure to support one another in the comment section because I'm so seldom available to do so. Don't forget to click subscribe and have a beautiful rest of your day. Mwah! Thank you for 5 beautiful years, friends. Bye.